Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. For several months now, at least since the Republicans and the white right started putting pressure on Biden about the border, he's been intimating that he's got a plan that he was going to be putting in motion. He wouldn't tell anybody what the plan was, but don't worry, there's a plan coming. We've got a plan. It's all going according to plan. And what was that plan? Well, he recently unveiled what the plan is, and the plan is a mass amnesty. As the Aryan propagandist reported, President Biden announced his administration will, in the coming months, allow certain U.S. citizen spouses who don't have legal status to apply for permanent residency and eventually citizenship without having to first depart the country. This action on the part of Biden could affect upwards of 500,000 immigrants, according to senior administration officials. Upwards of 500,000. So that means 500,000 is just the floor. This thing could be anywhere from 500,000 to 5 to 6 million to 10 million. Ain't no telling. No limits here. And apparently, Biden doesn't think that there's any sort of feasibility issues for this either. One thing's for sure, no matter how this turns out, this is the thin end of the wedge. If Biden does get reelected, you can expect that he'll be pushing to expand on this plan. It's going to be a matter of, well, we can't just have it for people who have been in the country 10 years or so without residency, people who are in the country illegally for 10 years, because that's basically supposed to be the limitation that was placed on it. Oh, well, you see, an immigrant must have lived in the U.S. for 10 years and be married to a U.S. citizen. Anybody who's been here less than 10 years, why, we couldn't make an exception for you. But of course, that's only for now. Let him get reelected and he'll say, well, you know what? It's just kind of an administration. Hey, it's a matter of social justice, you see. So basically, as long as you're married to a U.S. citizen under any circumstances, it doesn't matter. Biden's poll numbers are tanking, and the white media's asked, what's he going to do about that? Well, he's showing what his plan is. That's what his strategy is going to be. He's betting everything on the immigrant vote. Even though immigration is one of the main things dragging his numbers down, but he thinks the problem is just about him not enforcing the border. It's also about his clear intention to give a mass amnesty of some sort, because everybody can tell that's what's coming. That's what his idea is. This is politically radioactive, and yet that's the direction that he is adamantly going in. Nobody wants this policy, but he's ignoring all of that. So when he tries to tell you and me that the reason that they don't mention reparations is because it's unpopular, well, this policy certainly isn't more popular than reparations, and yet we're not hearing any of that talk about it's not feasible, or it's unpopular, or there's just not enough support. He ain't saying anything about that. Congressional laws? Law hell, he's trying to do this just on his authority as president. Because this is understood to be part of the Democratic Party's super objective of supplanting the black vote by creating a new voting bloc, one that they hope will be more pliable. This is part of a long-term plan that both the white left and the white right, truth be told, are in support of. Biden knows how unpopular this is, which is why he's been forced to make a phony show of concern about the border and take a few token gestures to increase security there, but it's all for show. It's nothing. This issue is one of the main things bogging him down. The white right has effectively used this as an attack against him. So he felt like he had to be seen as doing something, seen to be doing something, while at the same time not actually doing anything at all. That's why he went down to the border for that photo op. Go ahead and show him standing in front of those rusted little gates. All right then, see, I'm down here. See, I'm down here. You can't say that I haven't gone to the border. I've been to the border now. That's what this is about. So this is his counter to all of that bad PR that he's been getting. That's what this is, a PR maneuver. He wants to placate what he hopes to be a new voting bloc for the Democrats, while at the same time pacifying the individuals who are saying, if only he would go to the border. Yeah, he's gone down there and it changed nothing. He's walking a tightrope here, but his real intentions are clear. He made a big show of what the white media called his border crackdown. But tell me something, how many people were turned away by the border crackdown, much less removed? How many? Very, very few. His security theater on the border wasn't his actual policy. This was. And this policy has not merely had a deleterious effect on the black community, it has had a disastrous one on the black community. Because what happens is, when it comes time to talk about the money, particularly jobs, particularly housing and everything else, what we find is, predictably, the powers that be, who are anti-black to begin with, they're bending over backwards to make sure that they accommodate people who are not black. Doesn't matter if they're in the country illegally or not. That's the entire problem.
New shelter for migrant families is now open on the northwest side.
It's meant to ease maximum state policies being imposed by the city and state. And WGN's Dana Rebick live at Portage Park with more on this. Dana?
Well, Mayor Brandon Johnson and as well as some county and city leaders have been here for the last hour or so as part of a grand opening ceremony of this new shelter. We are told that 50 migrants are already living in the church's convent building, and another 250 will move into the church's school in just a few weeks.
I know that your journey here has been long and difficult, but today marks the end of that journey.
It's the latest migrant shelter to open its doors in Chicago.
It's not just about having a home and having a hot meal. It's about making us whole as humans. And we deserve joy. We deserve laughter. And the children deserve that.
And of course, what never gets mentioned in the middle of all of this is that the very individuals who have been advocating for this policy are among the most virulent anti-black racists that you'll find. The individuals who are coming in from these countries also come from cultures that practice hyper-aggressive anti-black racism. So for the white supremacists, this is seen as bringing in reinforcements. That's how this is perceived because that's what to them this actually is. So you don't see any support from black people coming from any of these people who are saying, let's go ahead and throw the doors open for anyone who wants to be here or to legalize anyone who has broken the law and been here for decades illegally. Start actually looking at the names of those people and look at their backgrounds. Look at the stances that they've taken for anything that black people have advocated for. You immediately find that these immigration cheerleaders happen to be the most aggressive anti-black zealots out there. And these are the people who we see Biden cheering on and supporting. As far as they're concerned, immigration is a solution to the political pressure that black Americans have been putting on white power. So over the massive objections of black Americans, we find this is what the Democratic Party's been pushing for, and the Republican Party hasn't been doing anything about it. No matter how much caterwauling they may do, when it comes time to actually put laws on the books and then aggressively enforce them, the GOP is rhetorically different from the Democrats, but practically no different at all. There's people who have knowingly been in the country illegally for years, if not decades, and they're openly telling the government and the citizenry that they're not going anywhere, and now they're saying you're going to change your laws to accommodate us. You're going to change policy to accommodate us. And you have the government, absurdly, who's bending over backwards to do exactly that. This is not the rule of law. It's the rule of political expediency. And where is the Congressional Black Caucus at to stand up for their black constituents? Well, they're championing Biden's policy, of course. These puppets were chosen by, funded by, and put in office by white power. The housing crisis has had its sharpest and harshest effect on black Americans. We're the first ones to be foreclosed on or evicted, put out in the streets. A disproportionate number of the homeless are black Americans. But you wouldn't know it by how the Congressional Black Caucus has been reacting. As far as they're concerned, black people are doing just fine. Black residents are up in arms from New York to Chicago to LA to all points in between, and yet these people are bending over backwards to prioritize illegal aliens over black citizens. But then again, as I've documented for you on this channel, a disproportionate number of the Congressional Black Caucus are themselves immigrants. They have open contempt for black Americans despite being black themselves. They'll wave the flag for immigrants all day because that's what they see themselves as. That's what they want to be considered as. They're trying to escape being considered black at all, so they're making a show of how little regard they have for us. Illegal aliens are not a constituency because they can't vote, but we see Democrats trying to change that. This has nothing to do with uniting families or with providing opportunities or jobs that Americans don't want to do or any of that other empty rhetoric.
Meanwhile, hotels in Santa Monica and Los Angeles are being accused of hiring migrants to replace striking workers. The LA County District Attorney's Office and the Hotel Workers Union now saying some of the hotels are exploiting the desperation of the migrants by giving them these jobs without paying them fair wages. The group making the accusation say some of the migrants even hired were on the buses sent to LA from Texas.
The Democrats have worked tirelessly to destroy families through their support for catastrophic laws like the 94 crime bill, aka Biden's law, and they have aggressively blocked all kinds of opportunities for black Americans. This is about policy continuity, full stop, and you can tell what the policy is. Billions for Israel, hundreds of millions to accommodate, house, and give jobs and now citizenship to illegal aliens, while totally ignoring black citizens who have been here the whole time. This is the reason that Biden is not too keen on doing any sort of town halls or having any sort of actual substantive contact with black residents and black Americans on the campaign trail, because these are the kind of policies and the kind of questions he doesn't want to have to answer for. For all the Biden bots out there who said that Biden would be too afraid of a black political backlash to ignore us, you said that back in 2020. Does this look like he's afraid of black voters to you? The cowardice that black people showed in 2020 is what led directly to this. When you bend the knee to someone who spent his entire life being politically hostile towards you, when you give your vote without forcing that individual to make solid pledges to give you the tangibles you require, then they already know you're not going to do anything once they're in office. Of course he ignored black voters, because nobody takes a sucker seriously. 2020 was a game of political chicken, and black voters flinched. The white left was trying to see if the black vote would stay home in 2020 like we did in 2016. They wanted to see if that was a fluke. Was it a one-off? Or would we stick to our guns and show them that we had a new normal in place and that we could deny them the presidency multiple times and we would do it? See, white power counts on black people getting a full head of steam about something and pulling a maneuver once. What they don't count on is it becoming the new normal. And black people showed that we hadn't politically matured to the point where we were willing to do that. Now, there are a lot of black folks out there who may have felt that their fear or their disdain for Trump was justified in making sure that they put Biden in the presidency in 2020, but we can't make decisions based on fear or emotion. We have to make them based on pragmatism. Without the Democrats having changed their belligerent anti-black stance, voting for Biden makes no more sense than voting for Trump. In fact, it's actually worse because we don't have the ability to put much pressure on the white right. We can, however, with persistence, have an effect on the white left, but not if we keep being consistently inconsistent. There's an enormous housing crisis in the U.S., and black people are catching the worst of it. Yet we are told every single day that there's simply nothing that all of these Democrat mayors and governors and presidents can do about it. Yet these same individuals for years now have overnight been able to easily find millions of dollars to house millions of people who have come to the U.S. illegally. And now they've moved on to the next logical step, which is now that we've gone ahead and accommodated them, we need to go all the way and just go ahead and say that they're citizens now. And when they do become citizens, we know who we want them to be voting for. Accommodate them economically, and they'll accommodate the Democrats politically. At least that's the working theory, though history has shown that this only works short term, only for a few years at the very beginning. After that, these same immigrants immediately make common cause with the white right. But the Democrats aren't really concerned about that, because as Rahm Emanuel and others have shown, they're already trying to pivot to the white right, to the casual racist. Bill Clinton did that effectively, and Barack Obama refined and expanded on Bill Clinton's stance. So as far as the Democrats are concerned, it doesn't matter if these guys start tending to the right. That's part of the Democrats' political policy anyway. That's the direction the Democrats would like to go in. What we need is for black people to understand when they're being played for suckers. We also need black people to understand this is the result of voting against your interest. When you tell somebody I'll vote for you, even when this person says I'm going to prioritize people who are not citizens over you, this is what happens. Joe Biden has not gone to any black neighborhood and made it very clear what he's going to be bringing to those black neighborhoods. But he did make sure that he went down to the border and said, you guys are going to be taken care of. Don't worry, I'm going to make sure you're taken care of. Now, sure, that's definitely not what black voters wanted in 2020 or any other year for that matter. But that is what black voters voted for, because that's what Biden made it clear was going to be his policy from the very beginning. But you have people who are crossing their fingers and telling themselves little lies and saying, well, when he gets in there, surely he wouldn't do that. And as you see, surely he did. The moral of this particular story is reality isn't going to change just because you hide your head in the sand. If you persist in being politically unrealistic, sooner or later circumstances will force you to see the reality. But at that point, the question will no longer be whether or not you're going to get what you've demanded. Instead, the only question will be whether it's too late. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Mouse, Daryl, Barrington Mack, King Edwards, and Imani Metajaji. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.